totally real, and we are the subjects of it.
And that will lead us to UFOs. All right. Now, I know you're into this topic, and I know you know people who know a lot about this topic and who may not be able to provide everything they know in a public setting. So what do we know?
Well, I mean, we know beyond question that there are objects and phenomena, aerial and undersea, that can't be explained by science and that seem to defy the laws, will measurably defy the laws of physics, and that are not experimental aircraft created by DARPA or the DoD or by the Russians or the Chinese. Like, we know that. There have been many testimonies to this effect under oath in the Congress in the last 2 years. So, like, that's not even a question. Are they real? Yeah, well, obviously they're real. What are they is the question. And I've been down the rabbit hole on this, and just because of my job, the one upside to having a gig like this, as you well know, is if you're curious about something, you actually have access to people who know or say they know, and you just call them up and be like, hey, come to my house, tell me what you know. I'm working on a story about it. I've never done really a story on this because I came to a hard and fast conclusion on it, which I can't prove, but I sincerely believe it, which is that these are spiritual phenomena, obviously. They've been here forever. There's a lot of evidence of that in the written record going back thousands of years. They're angels and demons, of course. And that would be obvious and was obvious to everyone else. What's so interesting, one of the reasons that this topic will drive you crazy and why I opted out and do no research and talk to no one about it, I'm out, I know what I think, I don't want to know anymore, is because there is such, and this is a matter of record, a concerted, decades-long disinformation campaign by the U.S. government to obscure what's happening. And if you look at that, and I grew up the son of a federal employee in a world where there was a lot of this stuff, so I do know a lot about this. And one of the ways to discredit the truth is by flooding the zone with lies. So rather than just denying UFOs are not real, well, you can't deny that anymore, they are real. What you do is you create a bunch of fake stories leading people in the wrong direction. You flood the zone. There's so many conspiracy theories that no one believes anything. But the way to know what the truth is by figuring out what they're trying to prevent you from believing. And if you look at the U.S. government propaganda, DoD propaganda, on the question of UFOs, UAPs, the one thread that connects all of it is that these are not supernatural. These are little green men from Mars. They're weather phenomenon. They're experimental aircraft. The one thing that they don't want you to believe is that they are spiritual entities.
Why would that be so threatening to them?
Well, that's a great question. That is the question. And there's an awful lot of thinking on this matter, and I don't know the answer. And I have theories on it. I don't have a firm belief on it. There's certainly an awful lot of highly informed speculation that there are very dark reasons that they don't want because they're participating in it. And there have been technology transfers that are, consistent with what we know about spiritual forces, which is always a deal. Bow down before me and all of this will be yours. I mean, it's kind of the core story in the New Testament, and it's the template for our own lives. In fact, we face this all the time in our own lives. You don't need to be interested in UFOs to recognize that so many times you reach a juncture in your life, in my life, where it's like, I could do this and I would get a lot out of it. I'd become more powerful, get to have sex with someone I want to have sex with, become richer, if only I violate what I believe, if only I bow down and worship you. And there is a lot of informed speculation that the U.S. government has participated in this, and the defense technology, in particular nuclear technology, is the product of that. And I don't know if that's true. I will say one extremely interesting thing that no one seems to know is that it's not exactly clear where nuclear technology came from.
But who would we be cutting a deal with in this scenario?
So that's why I don't speculate about it, because I don't know the answer. Obviously, what we're seeing, these phenomena are spiritual phenomena. And one of the reasons that I came to that conclusion was because of an incredibly kooky story that's not kooky at all. It's 100% real, which is cattle mutilations. And cattle mutilations are a consistent feature of life in the West, not just in the United States, but going back hundreds of years in Europe. Farmers would find their cattle, their sheep, slain and dismembered in a way that no butcher could replicate and drained of all of their blood. And clearly this is a ritual sacrifice of an animal, which is described in not just the Old Testament, but many sacred texts and many religions. And it was the basis, of course, of all of the ancient human sacrifice cults, which were like in every country, not just in Latin America, but my ancestors, the Norse sacrificed people. So like sacrificing people or animals to please the gods is the one consistent feature of all religion going back to the beginning of recorded history. And why is that? Because there's something there. Why would people on continents separated by oceans they could not traverse reach the same conclusion about the nature of the spiritual realm, the exact same conclusion, if they weren't responding to something that was actually real? Well, of course they were. And so there is something about Christianity is fundamentally the story of the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross, tortured to death to atone for human sin. And of course, biblical Judaism is the story of sacrifice to do the same. So anyway, whatever. Cattle mutilations are ritual sacrifice. Clearly. And what is that? Who's doing it? I did a documentary on it, and my whole staff was like, now you're freaking crazy. Cattle mutilation. Well, it turned out the FBI investigated it twice because the value of the livestock killed was so high that ranchers in Idaho complained to the FBI. We did an investigation. Senators got involved. There's a lot written on this. And it's like, well, what is that? Well, the one thing the U.S. government was absolutely intent on you not thinking was that this was some kind of ritual sacrifice. Fascinating. So I don't know.
Are you in a place now where you feel free to do whatever the hell you want?
Does it seem like I do?
Yes, it does seem like it.
I just went on about cattle mutilations without any embarrassment. I told you I got attacked by a demon because I did.